We are going to work on our glazing today. Very important, very, very important. Anything that touches the table, whether it's the pot or an accessory that you've made, you must rub wax all over it. And you'll feel this is quite dry. When you rub enough wax on it, it'll kind of get a smooth, silky, waxy coating on it. So you've got to rub it quite hard. Just be careful of your pot, particularly if you've got any pieces that might break off. So holding it firmly, carefully, no dropping or it will break. And once you've got wax, you'll be able to feel it, and that will stop your pot from sticking to the shelf in the kiln. I have had to chip pots off before, off the kiln shelves. They get completely stuck, and they also ruin the very expensive shelves. They're about $200 each, the ones we've got. So if you have a handle and the handle's touching the table, you'll need to wax that as well. So I'm going to wax along the bottom of this. Anywhere it's touching. Now if your pot's a little bit wonky and it sits on its side, you need to wax the side as well. Anywhere it's going to touch the shelf. I've got a few other pots. This is just a candle that I'm using. That's good. I'm doing all my sample pots because I want to make sure that I am testing the different types of glazes for you. So you can choose which one you like. See how my pot's not quite flat here? It might sit a bit here, so I've got to make sure I wax that bit. Alright, so I'm going to do some different techniques with the pots. So the first one is my big one. I'm going to dip in glaze first. So I'm going to dip it in. So very important that you have waxed first. So I'm just going to pause the video. So I'm just dipping it in a bucket of glaze. And you can see that it hasn't touched, and I'm going to wipe that base as well in a moment, but I'm going to put it here to dry. I've used my handy barbecue tongs to dip it in. The other ones I'm going to glaze first, paint first to see the different effect. So I'm going to paint some colour on first. Now the colours that these look are not the colours that they might turn in the kiln. The heat changes the colours. So this one's called rhubarb, and I have got a clay sample board. You can have a look at some of the different colours. But it's part of the magic of pottery. You get a bit of a surprise when they come out. It's always a bit of a ooh-ah moment seeing how they turn out. So I'm just going to paint my... Now, you shouldn't really mix these colours. So make sure you use a different brush or wash your brush in between. I'm going to put a bit of yellow on there. And I'm going to put yellow on my bee. Making sure I'm pushing all the colour into those little crevices. Turn it over, make sure there's no clay left unpainted. Nice. Now This has dried already, so I'm going to add some glaze to this as well. I'm going to do the little balls in between yellow. Sometimes glazing at first, like I did, gives this kind of cool blurred effect because the colours move around a bit in the heat. Might do a colour around the top. Now when you get lots of glaze on it, the reason we're using these boards is you can do this cool thing. So I'll just show you. If I want to do a stripe around here, I can hold my brush in one position and just move the board as I turn it around. Take these guys off. So keeping my brush and just slowly moving the board around so I get right round my pot. Cool. Now I'm going to go on and paint the whole thing. And the other pot that I'm doing, I'm going to finish painting both of those. The other pot I'm going to do, I'm going to paint with white first. So I've got a white here. And once I've painted with white, then I'll add the colour. Different colours on top. So I'm going to put them back in the kiln just so I have some different experiments to show you so you can decide which way you want to do yours. Okay, I'll check in with you later. Right, so I've painted my pots. I'm just going to give them a little wipe along the base to make sure that the glaze is not stuck to that wax bit. You can see I added a spiral inside here, some dots, done stripes on my snake and a green dot in the middle. Just make sure you use different brush and we don't get different colours in different glaze pots, otherwise the colours will go all mucky. Alright, so remember I dipped this one in the glaze beforehand, but these ones I haven't, so I'm going to dip them now with my barbecue tongs. Okay, I've just dunked this one in the bucket of glaze, going to wipe the base, let that dry, and pick up my snake, dunk it in the glaze bucket. Here, and one more, my little snake. Here he is. Wipe him up. Wipe this base. And let them dry, and then they'll be ready to go back into the kiln and see what happens with these colours with the magic of heat. Alright, it's time to go and wash these brushes. Make sure the water runs clear. Separate the bristles so there's no glaze left in them at all, otherwise it'll ruin the brushes.